Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the podcast. I'm really happy to have with us the Honorable Retired Peggy Walsh, who is a longstanding judge in New York, now lives in Florida, but has a lot to share with us because she has worked in so many different aspects of family law and fronting the issues that children face, especially. So thanks for being here with me today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. I really enjoy your podcast. So thanks, Krista. Thanks for inviting
Thank you so much. Well, we did a little general intro audio before in terms of giving your background, but if you can give us a little sense of your journey that, from I know you told me you initially were an attorney and a child advocate. Tell us about that. And I know New York handles the court levels a little differently. So maybe give us a little education on that as well so we know what levels we're talking about since the court
Sure.
are different there.
Yeah, New York's court system has been described as Byzantine, difficult, challenging, horrific, nightmarish. So-
Oh no, it's not that bad.
but the reason is the levels are there are courts at every level. So family court is a county level court. And then Supreme Court is not the highest court. It's the lowest trial level court that hears all cases. So car accidents, divorces, absolutely everything, civil rights case, absolutely everything. Um, so I was a family court judge, and then I became a Supreme Court judge. I loved my time in family court very much. And when I decided to retire, I was a Supreme Court judge. There was a county where the judge had retired, and the kind of administrators were looking for people to go to this rural county and help out. And my hand shot up. I was like, I get to go back to family court. Oh yes.
So let's talk about the difference between this best interests, like you're going to put your view on this, because that's the role I play a lot. And I do sometimes get kids, especially older kids, who
Yeah.
look and say, well, that's not fair. Like I'm an individual human. Why
Right.
do I get a say? And it's like,
Right.
well, and they'll look at me all the time wide eyed, you know, sometimes tears rolling down their face saying like, well, at what age do I get to decide? And,
Right.
in our state, it's like, well, uh, any information you've heard on this is probably wrong, honey, because it's
Yeah.
actually just this multi-factor thing, and we have kids who are even like 17 and 3/4 still being dragged into these situations by their parents. And so, how do you, having done both,
Hmm.
tell me about that and your perspective now on both? Like, because I don't,
Yeah.
New York is one of the only states doing it this way.
Yeah. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think it's
but
super
the
interesting.
but the real answer is the children never get to decide. The judge always decides, or better yet, the parents decide, and the judge kind of signs off on that, right? But that's the best case scenario, and of course, that mostly happens. We don't, in terms of statistics, I don't know exactly what they are, but most people do come to an agreement about what's best for their kids, and then the judge says, "Okay." So it's really the parents who say what's best for the kids. The children never decide, and we are clear with them that they can say, I want to live with my mother, or I don't want to do this, or I do want to do this, or whatever. It's like, okay, I want to know what you want, but I am not going to do what you say unless I decide it's also in your best interests. So the legal standard is certainly what's in the best interest of the child. And that is always what we do or try to do. That's the idea. Um, but hearing from the kid is a really great thing because we just get to know why they think what they think, why they want what they want. And they're often persuasive. They say, well, hey, this doesn't work with my schedule. This makes no sense. I have baseball practice on Wednesdays. I can't do whatever. It's like, oh, that's true. you know, so
Those cases that are genuinely high conflict, your sort of frequent flyers.
yeah.
And I would say there's usually frequent flyer attorneys,
Yep.
which maybe demonstrates another problem you could help us understand. Um, because it seems like the most common, there's a lot of attorneys that are in court all the time. That's just kind of what they do. So if you hire those people, you got a much higher likelihood of going to court, essentially.
Yeah. Yes.
What are some of the recurring patterns maybe that you would see in cases that were high conflict?
I would see the child being saying one thing and then saying another. So supporting the mother's position and then supporting the father's position. And back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that does happen. And you can you just know, even if the child is smiling and saying, no, really, that's good. Oh, yeah, I'm very happy with that. That's a great schedule. Well, if the opposite was true, last month, how could this now be true? And so that level of internal conflict with the child is just a disaster. And I've had that a lot, and they're usually, I'm not going to say a lot. I had that sometimes, and it was horrible for everybody. In one case, I knew that the lawyer for the child kind of couldn't get it straight. She was like, well, she's saying this. And then, but then she said this and now she's saying this and whatever. And she didn't want, and the child didn't want to come to court. The parents didn't want her to. So that's fine. But there was something weird going on. And it really did turn out the child finally said, no, 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 it's not true. My daddy didn't do any of those things. But mommy told me to lie and lie about very serious things, accusing the father of doing very terrible things. And I don't mean sex abuse, so I'm not going to go there, but just like terrible parenting things. And in an effort to limit the father's time, because she was mad at the father for her own reasons, having nothing really to do with the child. So it was so bad that I changed custody, meaning the child went to live with her father because
Yeah.
she needed a break from her mother constantly telling her what to do and say that was false because she couldn't take it. Kids can't take that when they love both parents and one parent is saying, well, tell the judge or tell your lawyer that this happened. It's like, but mommy didn't do that. Just say it. It's okay, honey. Just say it.
Do you think that most lawyers, I guess I would say, do a good job of this with their family law clients? And do you think that the ones who litigate do as good of a job, who are like the frequent flyer litigators?
Yeah, no. What I think is that it isn't in anyone's interest, except a lawyer's financially, to litigate. It is in no one's interest for a person to testify against the person that they have a child with. If you can avoid that, you better avoid that. And so any lawyer who's trying to, kind of make a lot of money because it's a lot more, he's going to get a lot more money by doing the trial than by just having the settlement. That's going to take 2 hours instead of, the 20 hours the trial is. Well, no, that's not, no, that isn't good. And for sure, there are people who say, I want to hire the person who is going to eviscerate the other person, the person who's going to throttle the other person. I want the lawyer who is cutthroat. I want the lawyer who's going to go after that other person and somebody strong. And, we're not negotiating here. That was it, this whole thing, this whole problem, that was their fault. So I'm not negotiating. And they hire these lawyers who cost a fortune and who say, okay, well, my client just wants to go to trial. Well, again, that's an emotional decision. It's not usually the best decision. And hey, sometimes you have to go to trial because there's no workable thing to do that is really in the child's best interest. And you just have to do it. So, of course, but mostly, given some time, people can say, okay, is this really a good idea? I am spending all of my child's college tuition and my child is 6, but I am never going to be able, this is going to decimate me. The debt is going to decimate me. So, and him, right? So it's like, nobody's going to have any money for this kid to go to college. We are spending it all on lawyers. Let's just focus on that for a moment. Do we have to do that? So there's that, just the money. And then there's also what's it going to do to our kid to know that her parents just can't stop fighting about her? It's a tough thing for a kid to know. So, no, I don't think it's great when lawyers just say, oh, you want to go to trial? Okay, I'm your guy. Let's just go to
Yeah.
trial. We're not going to negotiate. We're not going to agree. It just doesn't help anybody. It
Yeah.
really doesn't.